You're talking to a douchebag, Paul.
That was the first thing that just went live on the video.
You're talking to a douchebag, Paul.
Oh, great.
Just check it.
All right, Corey, whenever you're ready.
Mm-hmm. In this episode of Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn Bob Costanzo desperately needed his SAG insurance paid.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I am your host, Paul Packler. With me, as always, is...
He's not Corey Pepper.
I know, I was just changing it up. I was letting you say your own name.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure that you forgot. It's me. And of course, joining us today, as always, is this... Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Screen blank. He's not here with us again, is he?
No. Here's the little inner workings of Quality Time with Family Ties, folks. I usually send out an email or a text being like, hey, guys, let's record sometime this week on this time. And then, Corey, you get back to me immediately.
Sure.
And then Scott Jones just doesn't.
Yep. Well, he's changing diapers. He's probably, if I'm guessing correctly, he's out right now getting cocoa butter to rub on Carrie's nipples that are probably sore and cracking at this point.
Oh my gosh.
I guess you don't know. You don't have a child, so you don't know about nipples that get sore and crack.
No, I didn't. I mean, other than my own normal ones that do.
Yes, right, exactly. But, when babies suckle upon nipples for sustenance, sometimes the nipples can take quite a beating.
And then coconuts come into the mix?
Usually it's coconut oil. It's like coconut butter, coconut butter, and then you rub it. By the way, why am I rubbing it on sensually when it's not a sensual thing? Because they hurt.
Yeah. Oh, God. This is depressing more than I already was.
Yeah. How was your week, Paul? Did you have a good week? Anything good happen this week?
Literally nothing good happened this week, so.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that? Why is that? Why do you say that?
I just, honestly, here's the thing. Scott did a great job talking a couple weeks ago about Trump and what a fascist he is. And honestly, for the next 4 years, I will be living every moment in protest of his administration. And so this is a place where, with all of the hate that he exudes, with all of the hate that he is bringing out in the populace and all that kind of stuff, I want to take a minute of each episode just to say that there is something nice in this world and that people are good and that we shouldn't fear each other because of these terrible people that live amongst us, and that they are hurting. And their hurt is turning into a misguided direction of distrusting minorities and women, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. And so, for those people who might be listening, there are good things in this world, and so here is something good in this world.
What's the good thing of the week?
The good thing of the week is. Yesterday I was at work and I was looking out the window. I work in a tall office building, and there were these bugs that were flying up the air, sort of like an air vent, or like in between two buildings. And the sun was coming through, and it was backlighting these bugs it was just like thousands of bugs that were just sort of floating, almost like the bag in American Beauty. And it was just these weird bugs, and I couldn't even see what they were. And it was just thousands of little bits of light, and it was really pretty, and I've never seen anything like it before.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
One of my good friends out here, who happens to be a very light-skinned African-American man, who generally, in this business, we all play something, whether we are or aren't. He generally plays Indians, people of Indian descent, because of the color of his skin, and can't play any African-American characters that have an edge or any urbanness to him. He's a gay man. He's very smart. He's from Pittsburgh,
Mm.
Carnegie Mellon.
Oh, wow.
Educated. And just a great guy. He's an acting teacher and a dancer. And he said to me he was at his car on Wednesday morning filling his car up with gas. And another guy got out of his car and just started staring at him. And he got instantly paranoid, as young African-American men do in this country, when somebody who's not black stares at them. And he's staring at him, and he said, and whether I'm right or wrong, I felt hate. I felt hated.
Mm-hmm.
I felt paranoid. I felt nervous. I felt like I wanted to stop gassing my car up. I thought I was going to be in danger. And I thought, that's so ridiculous. He's the most unthreatening person in the entire universe. Why would somebody instantly threaten him? Well, because there are people who hate people based upon nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The color of their skin, the fact that they're wearing glasses, whatever it is. And it was just so sad to me that we're back living in a world. We've turned back the hands of time. In 7 days since we've last spoken, we've turned back the hands of time 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm sorry for listeners that are like, oh, this is pretty sad. But, honestly, I feel like this is just a show that's about friendship between you and Scott and me. And as a listener of many podcasts myself, I always enjoy getting to know the people that are talking in my ear for an hour once a week. And so, just hi and thank you for listening. And I'm sorry that it's sad, but you're getting all the facets of us. So
it is sad. I've been comparing it all week to breaking up with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That a painful breakup, when someone breaks up, not you breaking up with someone, but somebody breaking up with you. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of how I felt. I felt sort of like the country broke up with me the other day. And I don't know when we're going to get back together again. And it's really strange for somebody who's such a news junkie like me. I have not read a newspaper or watched a news broadcast since Tuesday night at all. I refuse to. I can't watch the stuff that we see after every new president is elected. I can't watch the triumphant breakfast at the White House with the new first lady. I can't watch that. I can't watch Obama shaking his hand. I can't watch that. It's such bullshit that I just can't watch it.
It's normalizing. It's that the trappings of American democracy are now being foisted upon this. It's like putting a cape on someone who doesn't deserve it.
That's exactly right. For a year and a half, all we heard, and look, we heard it because they were telling us this, but they didn't need to tell me anything because there were cameras on Donald Trump telling me everything I needed to know. Mm-hmm. So the commentators, they leaned against Donald Trump, certainly on MSNBC and CNN, and they told me what he was, how I should feel about him, but they didn't need to tell me how to feel. I could see for myself how to feel about Donald Trump. But here's what we heard for a year and a half. Now he's been elected president, and they're acting as though they didn't just tell me for a year and a half what a bad person he is. They've sort of dropped the he's a bad person shtick, and now the only thing they're doing is like they're normalizing this, and they're making it seem as though, oh, this is the new president, and everything's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not cool.
You know what, Corey? I'm getting tweets from one of our followers that saying, "Why did I come for a depressing talk?" And this is not what I signed up for. No, but I just want to say, I'm sorry, and we might just cut all of this out. We might have Bryant edit this out if we feel going forward that it's like at the same time I feel like it might be a thing of like. People are already feeling bad and they don't need to, they come to the podcasts for escape. Yeah. And so maybe we're doing the wrong thing talking about it too much.
It's hard not to talk about it, though. I know that it is.
Yeah. So it's really trying to find a happy medium. So I apologize if, you're watching right now, and you're like, ugh, this is, I didn't come here to watch CNN. So I'm sorry, and we might just edit this out, but I don't know. I just had to talk to you, Corey, about it. So
because we hadn't spoken this week since the debacle of election night. But this is Quality Time with Family Time. It is season 4, episode 17, Engine Trouble, and we start in the kitchen. We start in the kitchen with the girls feeding Andrew ice cream.
Yeah. They offer him stewed. I just wrote stewed shit. What?
Yes. They had a variety of like stewed meatballs, stewed zucchini, and ice cream. He had 3 choices, and he says he picked, or they say he picked the ice cream because I think they wanted ice cream. And right at that very moment, Dad comes home with, well, you're going to say he comes home with a cold. I'm going to say he comes home with the B plot. Because that's what this unfortunately is. It's just a dreadful B plot, typical dreadful B plot of Dad is home and he's sick and he thinks he can control his illness with mind control because he's one of those guys who refuses to admit that he is sick.
Yeah. It's funny because you didn't like this episode and I loved this episode, Corey.
I had problems. I sort of liked the first act, and then it completely fell apart for me in the second act.
It does fall apart. That's true. It gets a little bit repetitive at times, but like I felt like it was. I mean, we'll talk about it further. But I thought that the B plot, the way it tied, they had it tie in with the A plot.
They did have it tie in.
My mind was blown. That was like this should have won an Emmy back then.
Alex and Elise come barging in to this kitchen because Elise's car broke down a few blocks away from the house. They took a brisk walk home. Alex thought it was a little too fast. He had a funny joke about I couldn't hear you. I was in your jet stream. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, that was such a weird joke, and it was really funny.
And it made me laugh. I thought I was like, oh, okay, that was sort of clever. It took me by surprise.
That's the other thing, Corey. In this episode, there are a bunch of funny jokes.
There are some good jokes.
Yeah.
Then they do what they've been doing a lot of lately, a bit. You know, where I think they just put in like a slug line, like everybody does a car noise bit. I don't think they wrote that car noise bit for them, but it's something that the actors worked out.
Corey, could you imagine being a Hollywood sitcom writer and having to like type out the sounds that they each make?
Everybody's making different sounds.
How many W's are there in wah?
I just don't know what sounds he could have written down.
Right.
So it's something that clearly they worked out with the actors, and the bit went on for a significant period of time. Only topped by a delicious glass of orange juice by Alex B. Keaton.
Corey, that to me was the first indicator that this was going to be a good episode because it was kind of touch and go. And then when Alex brought out the orange juice, I was like, oh, thank God, some even footing.
And then actually, now this is where I'm going to agree with you that I thought it was good. They present a thesis, and I think some of their episodes are strongest when they present a basic thesis and then try to either prove or disprove the thesis. And their theses are almost always related to some 80s socio-political philosophy. And in this one, it's can women be good auto mechanics? There's your question. There's my thesis. Let's see, can women be good auto mechanics?
Yeah.
And they sort of challenge Elise to be an auto mechanic by Steven suggesting that she take a class in auto repair at the local community college.
Yes. And you know what, Corey? I think it's not just that they're talking about a certain topic of socio-political import. It's that the way they make it happen is that they push the characters to the edge of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you would never see Elise working on a car. You would never see Alex working on a car. Let's put them together. And so it's not just the topic, it's also how they do it. And it's that 1-2 punch that makes a good episode.
Mm-hmm. Alex and Elise agree that they're going to, Alex goes, oh, you can't be an auto mechanic, Mom. What if you break a nail? What if you give birth? There we go. That was another good joke. I thought that was sort of funny out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like she's just going to pop out a baby out of nothing, out of no pregnancy.
Well, I mean, she just had the one baby, so.
And we have no outline of this scene. It just cuts to the auto class out of practically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And there we are, thank God, with Manny, waiter. What was he most recently?
Yeah, what was he recently? I can't remember.
He was something else recently, something else.
Oh my God, we're falling apart. But yeah, I mean,
4 or 5 episodes ago, too.
He's the orange juice of Family Ties.
He's the human orange juice. Bobby Costanzo, terrific character actor, appears as Sam, the auto repair shop guy.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it is an all-male class, and also apparently everybody was requested to wear white sneakers, except for Alice P. Keaton, who's wearing his dress shoes.
Right, but also Corey, there is this woman who's sitting like in the fourth wall area, who at the end of the scene comes in, and she looks like Elise. It's like Elise's stand-in, or Meredith Baxter's stand-in. For some reason, they didn't want Elise to be the only woman. I don't know why they have this woman there, but
it would have seemed so sexist to make her the only woman in the scene.
Right.
Alex P. Keaton, of course, is wearing his tie at auto mechanics class, which is always a good thing. And Bobby Costanzo is asking them to identify certain parts of the car. He refers to Alex as Mr. Wall Street Journal, which I thought was
funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Alex cannot identify any of the parts of the car, although Elise can identify all the parts of the car. And in the middle of all this, Bobby Costanzo just goes to Alex and sort of dismisses him and says, "Hey, kid, go get me a cup of coffee."
Yeah, it's pretty great. Because the whole time Alex is constantly like, hey, I want to be the teacher. He's trying to like ingratiate himself with the teacher, and the teacher's not having any of it. And once again, Bobby Costanzo used an amazing effect because just like matching him up against Alex P. Keaton, this working class guy, and it's just a very funny dynamic.
Mm-hmm. We cut right from here to the kitchen again, and to B-plot sick dad, who is being catered to by Jennifer and Mallory, who've been given almost nothing to do in this episode, except make a cup of soup for Dad. And of course, I realized at that moment, when she served the soup and it looked like it was going to be inedible and thick and disgusting, and I realized that the only soup that exists back in '83 were those condensed Campbell soup cans. They hadn't started making like the chunky soups and the Hungry Man soups, and the soup that don't dilute with water at all, that you pour out of a can and it's soup. And it was just those red and white cans of Campbell's soup that we all remember from being a kid, that if you don't put water in it, it's pretty fucking disgusting.
Why was that? Why didn't they just have it be with water in it?
Don't know why, unless they were, unless it has a larger shelf. How could it have a larger shelf life? Does water go bad?
Yeah. What was the science that happened that allowed us in like the 90s to start adding water?
Right. Or what was the science in the 50s when we had to condense it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird because I remember my mom putting water in soup.
That you always got to put that one can of water in the soup, or else the soup is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they're serving thick soup to Dad. Alex comes in. His hand is wrapped. He's injured. It seems as though he got injured changing a tire, but it turns out that he got injured taking the jack out of the trunk of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene sort of kind of ends again with nothing.
But you know what? At the same time, Elise grabs an orange juice, a glass of orange juice, and she's like the victor so far in this competition between she and Alex, who only Alex is involved in. Like, she's just having fun in the class. So I feel like her having the orange juice is her, wielding the power in this scene.
Mm-hmm. And no outline in the scene. Once again, they would just sort of have they're sort of at odds over who is the better student and who's going to be the better student.
Yeah. I have that there was a recharge batteries joke that happened right before the commercial, and I thought it was a good joke. Like the fact that they ended on a joke to go to the commercial break, I was appreciative of that. And that was the complete opposite of how it felt in watching the episode. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back. So now we're in the living room, and Skippy is watching Alex try to put together, and I didn't know what the hell it was.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the hell it was either.
Yes.
Skippy's wearing his Tevye hat backwards again.
Yes.
They're working on the project from class in trying to put together a motor, an engine, a part of an engine.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick and his friend Cleet come over.
Now, this is interesting, Corey, because I tried to set it up by saying that we had Elise's Meredith Baxter's stand-in in that scene. This guy, that Cleet, is literally a twin of Nick.
He is.
I think it's his
like,
stand-in.
Wow, you guys couldn't come up with a different character? This was the only thing you can come up with, the same character as Nick?
Yeah.
Who we've already criticized for being too Rambo-like, and they've softened him, and then they bring this guy in, and they sort of turn Nick back in time to being like Rambo again.
Yeah, yeah. And so Nick... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Nick and Cleet... Cleet has trouble with his bike, and needs some help with his bike or his car. It's either his car.
His car.
His car. And all of a sudden... she's Mario Andretti. She knows how to fix cars. She knows what the parts are. She's quite incredible.
Yeah, what we're to assume here is that enough time has passed that Elise's prowess has gotten back to Nick, who now is bringing his friend over because they've been talking about, well, my car kind of sucks. You know who can help you? My girlfriend's mom. And so, like, Elise's reputation is preceding her. But at this point, Corey, she's taken, like, a night school class for maybe a month.
Who becomes an auto mechanic that quickly?
Yeah. I mean, you can have skills at things, but I don't know how she's so good so fast.
Nor do I. And they have a good joke about Steven comes in and he's talking, and they have a good joke about him sounding like Lauren Bacall, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm. Does he sound like Lauren Bacall? I don't know what she sounds like.
Yeah, Lauren Bacall had a very smoky voice, like cigarette smoke. Very, very smoky. When you have laryngitis, I always make jokes that I'm like Lauren. I'm channeling Lauren Bacall.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty. And my question, and then they have this long discussion. Jennifer and Mallory have a long discussion about keeping Dad in bed and how Mom wants to keep Dad in bed. Now, this is something that I also think is a TV invention that doesn't work in real life. I've been sick many times. I don't spend every waking moment in bed when I'm sick.
No.
I try and function, even if I have the flu, even if I say, "Oh, I'm flat on my back," I ain't flat on my back in bed. I'm flat on my back on the couch. Then I go to the bed, then I walk around, then I read, then I watch TV, then you fix something to drink, then you're back on the couch. I mean, you walk, but you don't spend it all day in bed. That's what they seem like. Steven's a prisoner of some sort.
Yeah, it's really weird. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, unless the sickness you have is so incapacitating that you're going to stay in bed, literally staying in bed, it doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't do anything. It made no sense. It was like, Mom's going to be really angry at us if she knows that Dad's walking around.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand that. And then we cut to the kitchen, and Mom's project is on the kitchen counter. And Alex has this great idea that he's going to show Skippy that if I take Mom's apart, I'll be able to figure out how to put it back together again because it's already together. So I'm going to take Mom's apart.
Yeah, and that's fine. That makes sense. Right?
Sort of, kind of.
Do you think,
really sure.
I mean, I don't know. If someone has their project, this is where the episode gets kind of wonky. Like what you were talking about in the second half, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, so what are we doing here? But it's like he goes up and he looks at her machine thing, and he's like, well, I can't really tell. Only if I take it apart. And Skippy's like, Alex, you better not. What if you can't put it back together? And then invariably, that's what happens. But at the same time, if you're gonna cheat, is this cheating? I don't even know. But I don't know. I just don't know, Corey.
He takes Mom's project apart, and then we have like the longest pan shot I've ever seen on this show of the camera going across the counter, and we're seeing like 120 different parts that were taken out of this thing, and then of course we get the inevitable shot of Alex and Skippy looking at the parts like, holy shit, did we fuck up?
Yeah. It's like the opening shot of Touch of Evil. Oh, that's for any film nerds out there. There you go. You're welcome.
And then we're in. So he takes Mom's apart. Then we see all the parts, and then we cut to it's night, and it's in the living room. And Alex is what is he doing? He's putting his together, or he's trying to put his together.
Wait. This is the late at night when. Yes, that's what happened.
She keeps Alex's all apart, and she puts Alex's together the correct way,
which is very nice.
So
that was good.
Right. So after this flurry of scenes, of very short scenes, Alex has disassembled Elise's already completed engine, and Elise assembles Alex's incomplete engine.
It's a regular twins menectomy restoration comedy or something.
It is. It's like the Gift of the Magi.
Yes.
It is.
But you know what's funny, Corey? Now that I was thinking about it, is when he's putting together his at that beginning of the act, and then we see once he's taken apart hers, it's like hers has a million pieces. His was like 4 pieces.
4. Yeah, absolutely. We saw him take it apart, and then we saw all the pieces, and hers is like, how come you don't have those pieces?
His was like when he took hers apart, it was like the opposite of an IKEA bed or something, where it's like you put it together, you have all this shit lying around. When he takes it apart, things get invented.
And then we cut to class, and I'm going to wrap this scene up real fast. So this whole scene, I'll explain in an instant. It's time to test the machines out. So Bobby Costanzo tests Alex's machine out, and it's perfect. And then he tests Elise's machine out, and the Earth blows up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Is that true that it would blow up?
No, that's what they did. They had it blow up.
Because now at this point, I think they actually say out loud what it is. It's a starter engine. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wrote it down. But like, I feel like if you have the cables not connected correctly, it'll just not start. It'll just not spin or whatever.
Nothing happened.
It's like they spent a couple $1,000s and brought in a fireworks company to put together an explosion.
And then we cut to the kitchen, where thankfully someone is drinking a glass of orange juice right off the bat.
Now Jennifer is.
Yeah, Jennifer was drinking a glass of orange juice right off the bat. 3 OJs in this.
Yeah. And they're trying to help us, Corey. They're trying to put things right.
So they're watching Dad like he's a prisoner. Did you notice Jennifer and Mallory exit through that door in the rear of the kitchen, and they walked into a plant and they just left it in?
No, I missed that.
Jennifer was pushed into that fake plant that Alex hides behind in a second later.
Mm-hmm.
They were exiting, and like Mallory and Jennifer were exiting together, and somehow or another, poor Tina Yothers just got fucking elbowed right into that plant.
That's hilarious! Oh, now I have to go back and watch that. It's actually, Corey, you just made me think of, in Star Wars, the first Star Wars, A New Hope, there's that scene when the stormtroopers come in where R2 and 3PO are locked in a room in the Death Star, and so they finally are able to jimmy the door, and the wall opens up, and the stormtroopers come in to R2 and 3PO, and you see one of the actors that are the stormtrooper hits his head right on the fucking door.
It's what they needed to use to make it make sense.
Yeah.
It's the only one they can use. That's great. So Dad is now sneaking around, like and I don't know where he's trying to go, what he's trying to do. It's not like they gave him something to do and they raised the stakes for him. He's just like trying to do something just to get out of bed.
Yeah, now he's like his trench coat and a hat on, like he's one of the Ninja Turtles trying to go to a movie or something.
Sneaking around, and Alex comes in and he's embarrassed about what went on in class, and Elise is angry at Alex about what went on in class, and Alex finally declares what we've wanted him to declare for 4.5 years, that women are indeed equal.
Mm-hmm. He says women can do anything men can do and should never be judged on the basis of sexual stereotypes.
There we go. That's what they wanted to get across to us.
You know what also we learned, Corey, is that the Keatons have 2 cars, because Elise says that she and Alex came home in separate cars. So remember when that family where they had to play with the baby, that they had to pick them up? Like,
and we said, what, do they not have a car? Of course they had 2 cars. They could have taken 2 cars.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Elise sort of kinds of lets Alex off the hook for his bad behavior, as we do in every episode. We should start charting this when the moment at the end of the show when they let Alex off the hook for his bad behavior. Mm-hmm. And so Elise lets him off the hook for his bad behavior by explaining it away, by saying that he's stubborn, and that's really the issue. Not his sociopathy, not his narcissism, not his controlling nature, not his OCD, but the fact that he's stubborn like daddy.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's bullshit, but they did a great job of laying the tracks that with the dad's B-plot, with Steven's B-plot of being sick and trying to get out of bed and trying to deny that he's sick, it adds up.
Absolutely. That was the moment where I went, okay, I forgive the B-plot, because the B-plot sort of didn't tell us, it showed us how stubborn Steven is. He wanted to go and do something, and he was determined to do it. And she was able to compare what we just saw with what we saw the whole episode from Alex, that they were both stubborn. And then she had that really nice moment where she was explaining it to him, and it started sweet with her hands on his face, and it ended up with her hands around his neck.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I thought that was sort of cute. I don't know whether that was in the script or not, but I thought that was cute that she was about to strangle him.
Yeah. That scene actually made me cry a little bit, if you'll believe it.
Because of the mother and son tenderness?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. That's the episode, by the way. That ends right there.
So, yeah, that's the end of the episode. I have to pull up the credits, as per usual.
Oh, really?
Can you believe it?
No, I'm trying to think of something.
Now I just do it just to see what you'll do, Corey.
You come up with?
Yeah.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we endeavor to deceive.
What is that from?
Is it Shakespeare? I don't know.
Is it? All right.
Yeah, it's Shakespeare.
I don't know. I'm dumb. I don't know that Shakespeare talk.
You know, it's funny. I'm watching another sitcom that I'm watching is Man with a Plan on CBS, Matt LeBlanc. Okay. And the reason I'm watching it is one of my students is the eldest child, is their teenage daughter in it. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, it's terribly mediocre. It's terribly mediocre. And it's just sort of like an old-fashioned. We don't have sitcoms anymore that don't have an edge to them. You know, even like Modern Family's got an edge to it. You have a couple of gay characters, or you have some marriage between a young woman and a young Spanish woman and an older guy. It has edge to it. But you have just a big happy nuclear family like you do in Family Ties or Man with a Plan, and those shows are very innocuous. We just don't have much of them anymore. Almost all shows have an edge, except Family Ties really doesn't, except for this political bent that Gary David Goldberg goes on with the, women being equal to men, which is important for the time. Mm-hmm. But it's just a very amiable family show, the sort of type that we really don't make anymore.
I think it was because in the 80s you had that sort of Reagan return to form of being, let's take a step back from all the craziness of the 70s. And so shows were a lot more innocuous. You had all those.
But at the same time that this was running, we had Cosby, which wasn't really very innocuous. Was a little bit more believable. I don't know. I just thought that it was a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, that's true.
Had a little bit more of an edge to it. Even I hate to say Cosby had an edge.
Mm-hmm.
So silly, but it did.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. Cut that out, Bryant. My mind is. I was able to keep things going for a little bit, but now I'm falling apart again.
Yeah, a little bit. So now read the credits.
Okay. Rate and review our show on iTunes. For questions and comments, email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Qtwft for updates. You can follow each of us. I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep, and Scott, if he ever returns, will be at Follow Jones.
And you can like us on Facebook. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is a comic book publisher and an online community supporting other creators and fans through daily reviews, interviews, and podcasts that span the pop culture spectrum. www.fanbasepress.com. Also, we'd like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs Family Ties and our theme song, Without Us. Check out her website, www.perryadams.com. We'd like to thank Bryant Dillon, who created our fantastic drawing and artwork, as well as edits our show. Bryant is the president and co-founder of Fanbase Press. Follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. Finally, we'd like to thank Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, for designing our logo. We will see you next week.
Sha-la-la-la.